The nations will put their hope in him, as it says. I think it's Isaiah 49.
Who believed that Yeshua was Mashiach, or Yeshua was God, or that the commandments of the Torah were undermined. This was like a poison. This was like a cancer. And the Chachamim were debating, how do we get rid of this cancer? So Shimon Kippah was a member of the Sanhedrin. And he came up with the following idea. He says he knows he will be losing his connection to the Jewish people forever. But he said he will make Christianity, so to speak, a separate religion and take it away from Judaism.
It's funny that all the Christians online will cope and say, like, oh, the rabbis are just making this up. They're just coping. They're just lying. They're just trying to take credit. But yet none of you knew that they thought this. They're out here bragging everywhere about their double agents creating Christianity to Judaize the world and fulfill their prophecies. And none of you knew this. But yet when you learn it, you get cognitive dissonance, confirmation bias, and you deny it. Probably don't even watch the actual video and just say, they're lying. They're lying. That's what they do. He will separate the Christians from the Jews.
Although Christianity will continue to be a negative and destructive Christian, he will separate the Christians from the Jews. And as a result, although
he will separate the Christians from the Jews.
Although Christianity will continue to be a negative and destructive Christian, he will separate the Christians from the Jews. And as a result, although Christianity will continue to be a negative and destructive force and even become much, much bigger and more powerful, at least it will be outside of Klal Yisrael. And it will not be within Klal Yisrael. And as you know, Peter, of course, is the first bishop of Rome, which is the Pope. Peter is the essentially the founder of the organized church. And Peter said he will live the rest of his life. This is in Machzor Vitri. He will live the rest of his life as a goy, as a Jew who left Judaism and became Christian in order that the Maminim of Yashka will no longer be part of the Jewish people. But he asked one thing. According to some traditions, he continued to keep mitzvahs privately. Right?
He kept the mitzvahs privately. So the first pope was Jewish. So this is what they believe. And it's funny, the version that we got for Christianity, the version they wrote for the Goy, it said, oh, Peter didn't want to eat with the Gentiles, but then he had a vision and then he agreed, okay, we could go to the Gentiles. Like he reluctantly did it. Not that it was a conspiracy, but that he reluctantly and was just convinced.
So the first pope was Jewish?
It's like we got a false origin story in the Bible, and this is the true version that they're all keeping secret.
Other popes as well. Yeah, kind of so. And he also had one final request. This is all in Machzor Vitri. His final request is he wanted to be remembered by a prayer that he wrote, and he asked the Chachamim to please incorporate this prayer in the liturgy. And this is the prayer of Nishmas. The prayer of Nishmas that we recite every Shabbos and Leil HaSeder, according to Machzor Vitri, was authored by Shimon Kippah, by Simon Peter, the Apostle Peter, Yashka's closest confidant. He was a spy, so to speak, but he was closest confidant. Therefore, the Chachamim that were receptive of this tradition, they honored his memory by fasting on the day of his death. But they didn't want to reveal it because either the Jews wouldn't understand what it's about, and the non-Jews would also wouldn't. They might hurt us. They might attack us because we're celebrating, and not celebrating, but we're kind of appropriating Peter for our own. That would be blasphemy from a Christian perspective. You have a man who is willing to give up everything in order to protect Am Yisrael from negative influences. He basically said, "I will leave Judaism, so I will take these renegade Jews with me, and they will not be a negative effect on Am Yisrael. My love and my care and my concern for the Jewish people is so great that I will sacrifice my own connection to Am Yisrael in order that other Jews will not be affected by."
And what does it say in Total the Issue? It says they relate it to that he will be guilty, and they relay it to the Jews in the New Testament, saying, "May his blood be on our hands and our children's hands; that they'll be responsible for it." It's a related thing.
These negative influences. This story says it was Simon Peter. If you don't accept that story, then you don't know who the author of Nishmas is. Nishmas does not have a definitive author that we can point to. Now, the prayer of Nishmas itself is an extremely powerful and beautiful prayer. They rest on Sunday. That's right. And then the question is, what's Paul's motivation? L'shem Shemayim. Yeah, no, that's very true.
Guys, I'm writing about this Total Theology in my book right now, so all of these videos are very helpful for my own research and understanding.
If I had to make a choice, I actually would have said it would be Paul more than Shimon Kippah. But in the Machzor Vitri, Shimon Kippah is the one that is recorded. Yeah. No, that's the point. He never believed. See, that's why we didn't want to publicize this, because if we were to publicize why we're fasting, we would be saying, Peter never believed your stuff anyway. So they would see that as an attack on Peter.
They were crypto goy. They didn't even pretend to be Gentile, though. They were double agents that didn't really believe it. He never really believed. He just took it to the he took a lie. They knowingly took a lie and a deception to the Gentiles.
Saying Peter never believed your stuff anyway. So they would see that as an attack on Peter. That Peter's going to go to hell because he didn't believe in Yeshua. No, the assumption is Peter Vadai didn't believe, and he remained a Shomer Mitzvos privately, and he had to act.
Shomer Mitzvos means he followed the mitzvah still privately. He was still he was the first converso, double agent. Need to make a separate clip with all that didn't believe double agent talk, see-through. Yeah, a new song with all the very best saying Paul was a double agent in what he did. That'll be powerful.
He repudiated Judaism as a way of creating leadership in the Christian world, creating the Catholic Church in Rome. Right, the first bishop of Rome is Peter, indeed. Yeah. We don't have. I don't think we have any makor even in something like Machzor Vitri. But there are later people that have suggested that maybe the Machzor Vitri was mixing up Paul and Shimon Kippur, maybe, which is not so uncommon. Meaning a lot of times in rabbinic literature.
So he's saying both of these apply, or this could apply to Paul as well, the Paul character, because he's the one that actually did take it to the Gentiles.
The apostles were all samished anyway. They used one name,
but Peter okayed it.
You have to understand that there are within halacha things called Horaz Shah, which are emergency, one-time things that are not necessarily general precedents. And we say Eis Lasos L'Shem, when it's time to preserve Klal Yisrael, there are times that you can depart from the Torah. So this is kind of a Horaz Shah. You can't automatically generalize. Yeah. I did not see any particular discussion. It's such an unusual type of situation. But as I say, the Machzor Vitri apparently assumes it was permitted because it mentions that Shimon Kippur did not do it on his own. Shimon Kippur did it with the consent of the Sanhedrin. He would not have done it unless they agreed that this was the proper thing to do.
So a conspiracy of Peter, Paul, and the Sanhedrin. And remember, Paul was supposedly groomed to be a member, or was a member of the Sanhedrin, and trained under the top Sanhedrin leader, Gamaliel.
If he was willing to make that sacrifice. So clearly there's a gushpanga. Clearly there's a seal of approval on what he did. That's yeah. Yes.
Seal of approval. In other words, the creation of Christianity has the Jewish seal of approval.
Machzor Vitri is treated as generally a very important source, mainly for halacha, not so much for history, but things that are recorded in Machzor Vitri we do take seriously in that way. It's the Talmidim of Rashi. As I said, Vitri was just a city, and the Mechaber was Rav Simcha of Vitri, who was a Talmid of Rashi. Yeah.
Talmud of Rashi. Rashi